There exists a realm that few speak of, a shadowy borderland where certain souls find themselves after departing their physical vessels through self-chosen means. This space is neither the earthly plane we inhabit, nor the luminous realms that await most spirits upon transition. It is a dimension of in-between, a cosmic waiting room where time flows differently and spiritual laws operate under unique parameters. Those who choose to sever their connection to physical life before their soul's intended moment of transition often discover a profound truth. Death of the body does not automatically grant liberation to the spirit. The act of suicide, this desperate attempt to escape suffering, often creates a paradoxical entrapment more binding than the earthly pain they sought to flee. Why does this happen? The cosmic design contains patterns and cycles of growth that each soul agrees to experience before incarnating. When these cycles are interrupted by willful exit, the soul carries with it unprocessed emotional wounds that become energetic anchors. These wounds, trauma, grief, rage, or despair, were meant to be transformed through living, not abandoned. The weight of these unresolved emotions creates a vibrational density that prevents the soul from ascending to higher realms. Within this intermediate plane, souls often experience their final emotional state on loop, a karmic echo chamber where their suffering continues without the physical body's release mechanisms. They remain conscious, aware, but disconnected from both worlds. Many describe this state as being behind glass, able to see both the physical world and glimpses of spiritual realms, yet unable to fully participate in either. The most tragic aspect of this entrapment is the soul's confusion. Many do not initially realize they have died. Others understand their transition but cannot comprehend why they remain bound to earthly attachments. This state of spiritual denial creates additional barriers to progression. A soul must first acknowledge its current reality before it can transform it. As Edgar once revealed through his remarkable channeling abilities, these souls experience time quite differently than we do. What might seem like decades or even centuries of entrapment to them may be mere months in our earthly timeline. This distortion of temporal perception intensifies their suffering, creating a subjective eternity of isolation. The dimensional trap becomes particularly rigid when the departed soul fixates on those left behind. Obsessive concern for loved ones, unfinished relationships, or feelings of guilt toward those who mourn create energetic cords that bind the soul to the earth plane. These cords act as spiritual anchors, preventing the natural ascension process from occurring. What many fail to understand is that this intermediate realm serves a purpose within the greater spiritual ecosystem. It is not punishment, but rather a necessary holding space, a cosmic pause button, allowing the soul to integrate what it tried to escape. The soul must face what it fled from, but now without the tools of physical existence to process these emotions. Those with developed spiritual perception sometimes glimpse these trapped entities. They appear as shadows at the periphery of vision, whispers of consciousness seeking acknowledgement. Some manifest as recurring dreams to loved ones or as unexplained emotional presences in locations connected to their passing. Their energy signature often carries a distinctive frequency, a melancholic vibration that sensitive individuals can detect. The path forward for these souls requires a profound spiritual awakening, a recognition that their chosen exit did not eliminate their soul contract, but merely changed its form. The lessons they sought to escape must still be faced, though now without the benefit of physical experience to aid in their transformation. Within the ethereal borderlands where these souls dwell, perhaps no force binds them more strongly than the weight of guilt. This emotion, so heavy in physical life, becomes almost tangible in the afterlife realms. It manifests as an invisible wall, a self-created barrier that prevents the natural progression of the spirit. Those who take their own lives often carry immense regret the moment their consciousness separates from their physical form. In that profound instant of transition, the soul gains immediate clarity, seeing with perfect understanding all that could have been, all that was meant to be experienced, all the healing that might have occurred had they remained. This sudden illumination becomes the first link in the chain of their self-imprisonment. The guilt takes many forms, each creating different vibrational patterns that solidify their entrapment. There is guilt toward loved ones left behind, children, parents, partners whose lives are forever altered by the choice made. The soul witnesses their grief without the ability to offer comfort or explanation. They observe birthdays passing uncelebrated, holidays marked by their absence, milestones unshared. Each moment of suffering they witness in those they love adds another layer to their self-constructed prison. Then there is the deeper, cosmic guilt, the soul's recognition that it has violated a fundamental spiritual principle by interrupting its own journey. Every incarnation represents a sacred contract, a carefully designed sequence of experiences meant to facilitate growth and understanding. When this contract is prematurely terminated, the soul feels the discord it has created in the universal harmony. This dissonance reverberates through their being, creating further barriers to their progression. What many fail to realize about these trapped souls is that they experience a heightened state of consciousness, despite their limbo status. Their awareness expands beyond what they knew in physical form, yet this expanded perception only intensifies their anguish. They can perceive the ripple effects of their departure, how it alters the life trajectories of those connected to them, how planned soul encounters never occur, how their absence creates voids that reshape the experiences of many others. The guides and spiritual beings who would normally assist in the transition process stand ready at the periphery of this realm, yet cannot fully reach these souls. Their assistance is offered continuously, yet the density of guilt creates a frequency mismatch that makes their loving guidance difficult to perceive. It is as though these benevolent beings call out across a vast canyon, their voices barely audible to those trapped by their own self-judgment. Within this intermediate realm, souls often encounter others who made similar choices. Yet even in this shared experience, many find themselves isolated, each encased in their personal bubble of regret, each replaying their unique story of pain and choice. The collective energy of these souls creates what spiritual adepts sometimes describe as grief pockets in the astral plane, concentrations of similar emotional energy that can occasionally be sensed by sensitive individuals on Earth as inexplicable waves of sadness in specific locations. The weight of guilt distorts their perception of time as well. What might be months or years in earthly measurement can feel like centuries of reflection and regret. This temporal distortion is part of what makes this state so challenging, the seeming endlessness of their condition, with no clear pathway to resolution. They exist in an eternal now, without the merciful boundaries of days and nights to segment their experience. Perhaps most painful is their heightened awareness of what spiritual teachers like myself have long taught, that the very suffering they sought to escape was the catalyst for their most important soul growth. The challenges they abandoned were precisely the conditions designed to facilitate their evolution. From their new perspective, they can see how their difficulties were not punishments, but opportunities, cosmic invitations to develop strength, wisdom, and compassion that would have transformed not only their current life, but many lives to come. The way forward requires a profound spiritual surrender, an acceptance of what has occurred, and a willingness to release the binding power of guilt. This process cannot be rushed or forced. It unfolds according to the soul's readiness to forgive itself. When the first crack appears in the wall of guilt, light begins to enter, the loving energy of guides and higher beings who have patiently waited to assist in their healing and progression. In the sacred architecture of existence, each soul enters physical incarnation, carrying what mystics throughout the ages have called soul contracts, divine agreements that outline the lessons, relationships, challenges, and purposes that will shape their earthly journey. These contracts are not punishment or arbitrary assignments, but carefully chosen paths of growth that the higher self selects before birth. When a life ends by suicide, these contracts remain unfulfilled, creating a spiritual imbalance that reverberates through the soul's existence. The nature of these incomplete contracts forms perhaps the most complex aspect of the entrapment these souls experience. Each intended experience, each relationship, challenge, or moment of potential transformation remains energetically active, pulling at the consciousness like unresolved threads. The soul feels these loose ends acutely, sensing the missing pieces of its journey with profound awareness that was often obscured during physical life. Consider the meticulously designed intersections of human lives. the seemingly random encounters that are actually carefully orchestrated moments of mutual growth. When a soul exits prematurely, countless such intersections never occur. The person who might have been healed through an exchange with them, the wisdom that would have been gained through overcoming a specific challenge together, the forgiveness that would have transformed generational patterns. All these potentials remain suspended in a state of cosmic incompletion. What many fail to understand is that soul contracts extend beyond personal growth to encompass collective evolution. Each soul agrees not only to learn its own lessons, but to serve as a teacher, mirror, and catalyst for others. The premature departure creates ripples of unrealized potential that affect not just the individual soul, but the intricate web of souls connected to it. These connections, now left hanging like severed circuits, contribute to the soul's difficulty in progressing beyond the intermediary realm. From my decades of spiritual observation, I have witnessed how these souls often attempt to fulfill aspects of their contracts, even from their trapped state. They may try to communicate guidance to loved ones through dreams or synchronicities, or influence events through subtle energy. But these attempts are mere shadows of what could have been accomplished through physical presence, leaving both the departed soul and those still incarnated with a sense of incompletion that cannot be fully resolved. The most poignant aspect of these unfinished contracts involves relationships, particularly those with family members, children, partners, and close friends. Each significant relationship represents a mutual agreement for growth and healing. When suicide interrupts these agreements, both the departed soul and those left behind experience a profound sense of interrupted purpose. The conversations that never happened, the reconciliations never achieved, the love never fully expressed. These incomplete exchanges create energetic bonds that continue to link the soul to the earthly plane. There exists a particular anguish for souls who departed before fulfilling contracts related to their unique gifts or contributions. Many who choose to end their lives do so during periods of deep pain that obscure their awareness of their own value and purpose. From the expanded perspective of the afterlife, they can finally perceive the gifts they carried, the art that would have moved hearts, the innovations that would have solved problems, the compassion that would have healed wounds. This recognition of unrealized potential becomes another aspect of their self-created purgatory. The cosmic system, however, contains mechanisms for addressing these imbalances. While physical death may end one expression of the contract, the soul's journey continues. The incomplete lessons do not disappear, but are instead carried forward, often becoming central themes in future incarnations. This is why many spiritual traditions teach that suicide does not eliminate suffering, but postpones and potentially intensifies the soul's work in subsequent lifetimes. In the intermediate realm, these souls undergo a process that might be described as contract review, a profound examination of what was agreed upon, what was accomplished, and what remains unresolved. This review is not punitive but educational, designed to help the soul understand the broader implications of its choices. Higher beings who assist in this process do so with perfect compassion, free from judgment or condemnation. Their guidance aims to help the soul integrate the wisdom of its experience and prepare for eventual healing and progression. The most challenging contracts to reconcile are those involving spiritual awakening, the agreements to transform suffering into wisdom. Many who end their lives do so precisely at the threshold of potential breakthrough, unaware that their darkest moments were actually the cocoon of profound transformation. From their perspective in the intermediary realm, they can perceive how close they were to the very awakening that would have liberated them from their pain, a recognition that initially deepens their regret, but ultimately becomes a catalyst for their eventual healing. In the cosmic journey of trapped souls, liberation is not merely possible, it is inevitable. Though the time frame varies according to each soul's unique process, the universal principles of compassion ensure that no consciousness remains eternally bound. There exists a sacred pathway forward, illuminated by spiritual understanding and accessed through profound shifts in the soul's vibrational state. The first key to liberation lies in what mystics call cosmic recognition, the soul's awakening to its true nature, beyond the identity and circumstances that led to its earthly departure. This recognition often begins subtly, as a quiet awareness that emerges through the dense layers of regret and confusion. The soul starts to perceive itself not as its mistakes or even its unfinished contracts, but as an eternal spark of the divine, temporarily experiencing limitation. This fundamental shift in self-perception creates the initial fracture in the walls of entrapment. What few understand about this process is that souls receive continuous assistance from both sides of the veil. From the higher realms, guides, angels, and evolved beings maintain constant vigil, sending streams of light and healing frequencies into the intermediate dimensions. Their unconditional love creates a magnetic pull upward, a spiritual gravity that gently but persistently calls to the trapped consciousness. Meanwhile, from the earthly plane, the prayers, rituals, and compassionate thoughts directed toward these souls serve as beacons that help orient them toward healing. The practices of the living matter profoundly in this liberation process. When those who remain perform rituals of release, lighting candles, offering prayers, creating memorials, or simply speaking words of forgiveness and love, they generate energetic pathways through which the trapped soul can begin to move. These acts of remembrance create what might be called bridges of light between dimensions, offering routes of transcendence for those ready to journey onward. As Edgar taught through his remarkable intuitive insights, the specific vibrational quality of forgiveness holds particular power in these circumstances. When family members and loved ones genuinely release their anger, blame, or resentment toward one who has taken their own life, they dissolve critical energetic bonds that may be contributing to the soul's entrapment. Similarly, when they forgive themselves for any perceived role in the tragedy, they further clear the path for the departed. The trapped soul's own journey towards self-forgiveness represents perhaps the most crucial aspect of liberation. This process unfolds in stages, beginning with acceptance of what has occurred, progressing through understanding of the deeper factors involved, and culminating in a profound compassion for the self that made this choice while immersed in suffering. Each stage raises the soul's vibrational frequency, gradually bringing it into resonance with the higher realms that await. There exists a phenomenon rarely discussed even in spiritual circles, what might be called soul retrieval missions. These occur when highly evolved beings, sometimes including those who knew the departed during physical life but have since transitioned and ascended, enter the intermediate realms specifically to assist these trapped souls. These compassionate beings bring with them the frequencies of unconditional love and understanding that help dissolve the barriers of guilt and regret. Time operates differently, not only for the trapped souls, but for the liberation process itself. What might seem like endless suffering from within the experience often serves a purpose in the greater soul journey. The intermediate realm, while challenging, provides a necessary space for integration and understanding that could not occur in either the physical world or the higher spiritual dimensions. It represents not punishment, but a compassionate cosmic mechanism for processing what the soul was unable to resolve during incarnation. The moment of true liberation comes not as an external salvation, but as an internal transformation, a shift in consciousness wherein the soul finally embraces the perfection of its journey, including what appears as its mistakes and missteps. In this profound acceptance, the vibrational density that maintained its trapped state dissolves. The soul recognizes that even its choice to depart and subsequent experience of limitation were part of its greater evolution. Experiences that, while painful, contributed to its eternal unfoldment. As the soul ascends from the intermediate realm, it does not leave behind its unfinished contracts, but rather gains a deeper understanding of how these will be addressed in its continuing journey. Some aspects may be completed through subtle influence on the earthly plane, others through assistance to other souls in similar circumstances, and still others through future incarnations. What appeared as failure transforms into foundation, the basis for profound wisdom that will serve both the individual soul and the collective consciousness. For those who contemplate ending their physical existence, this spiritual understanding offers critical perspective. The suffering that makes departure seem appealing is not meaningless punishment, but purposeful catalyst. The challenges that appear unbearable contain within them the seeds of your greatest evolution. The darkness that seems endless is, from the soul's expanded perspective, a necessary passage to the most profound light. Remember always that you are more than your present circumstances, more than your pain, more than your perceived failures or limitations. You are an eternal being on an eternal journey, temporarily experiencing the limitations of physical form for purposes greater than the human mind can fully comprehend. In this truth lies not only hope, but the ultimate liberation, available to all souls, whether currently incarnate or transitioning between worlds. If these words have touched something deep within you, know that you are not alone on this spiritual journey. The veil between worlds is thinner than we realize, and understanding these truths can bring profound healing. Subscribe now to continue exploring these sacred mysteries together. Each new video delves deeper into the wisdom that connects our physical existence with eternal truths. Share your own experiences or insights in the comments below. Your perspective may be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Remember, in this vast cosmic web, we heal not only ourselves but each other through shared understanding. Click that subscribe button and join our growing community of seekers. The next chapter awaits.